Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Daphne from the Institute of Banking and Finance, and we are delighted that you're able to join us this afternoon for this IBF Masterclass, jointly organized with Hyper Island, exploring platform business models. So, before I pass the mic over to our speaker for today, please allow me some time to share with you some initiatives that IBF has. So, a background of IBF. The IBF was established by the MAS in 1974 as a training provider to provide functional training for the financial industry. Since then, our role has evolved into one of the standard setting for financial services sector skills and competency. In August 2018, our mandate was further expanded to cover career advisory and job matching function for the financial services sector. We were also appointed as the jobs development partner for the financial services sector since 2020 by the Jobs Development Council, and now oversees both skills and jobs development for the financial industry in Singapore. So here's a quick look at our services and how we support the industry across training, recruitment, and workforce transformation. You can find out more about our services and connect with us on any or one of these platforms via our website. So let's just share with you some of the subsidies that we have. The enhanced course fee subsidies, which are part of MAS support package to encourage companies to send their employees for training and upskilling, will continue to be in place until this June. So if you want to actually take some training, please do make use of it. Okay, you have about a month to do so. Training costs under IBF recognized programs will be subsidized at 80% for trainees below 40 years old, while remaining at 90% for trainees above 40 years old, before going down back to 70% starting from July this year. Okay, next. You can also find the list of eligible training programs on the IBF Program Finder on our website. In addition, the IBF will also be supplementary to commercial training available with free webinars like the one that you're attending right now during this period to support the training needs of the industry. Financial professional can also tap on Learn at IBF mobile learning app for bite-sized learning at your own leisure. All this complimentary training are accorded with non-core CPD hours. Okay, so without further ado, please allow me to pass the mic over to our speaker from Hyper Island, Yin Wai. Okay, so over to you, Yin Wai.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Daphne. First of all, welcome everyone on behalf of Hyper Island. It's good to have us this opportunity with IBF to present this 1-hour talk on exploring platform business models. Let me just share my screen and then I will get started. Okay, hopefully you can see my screen. And this is a masterclass and it's all about platform business models. Just a bit of introduction about myself. My name is Yin Wai and I am the Master's Program Director here at Hyper Island. So Hyper Island is a school and we run a master's degree in digital management. It's a part-time degree and it is specifically catered to working professionals, perhaps like many of you. And if you want to find out more, please go to our website, hyperisland.asia. We are actively recruiting for our master's program that will begin in July. And we're very, very pleased that we have IBF funding for this as well. So please do check it out if you are interested. But more than just our program, let me tell you a bit more about Hyper Island so that you understand how perhaps this 1 hour is going to go as well. So back in 1996, about 26 years ago, Hyper Island started in a Swedish prison. That's right, a prison. So we're a school, and what better place to start a school than a prison where, you know, one's held physical bodies in a captive state. We transformed the environment into one where through education, we were freeing people's minds. And back then in 1996, there was already a view that we had that the business people and the creative and the design people and the technology people, they cannot sit separately one from each other. And 26 years ago, we started to design programs that brought these three big pillars together because we found that those are the kind of skills that we need. And in many ways, fast forward to 2022, we see that same need where people in business need to understand technology and creativity, and people in technology, likewise, people in creativity need to be familiar with the different aspects of the work. We started in Sweden. We've expanded to the Americas, North and South America. Our headquarters is in Stockholm. And in Asia, we're represented in Singapore. So Singapore, we've been here for 11 years when the Economic Development Board invited us to set up our Singapore hub about 11 years ago. We have since now branched out to Hyper Island in Japan, as well as Hyper Island in the Philippines this year. So what do? We do lots of courses besides the master's program that I talked about. We do short courses, we do talks like this, 1-hour talks, we do 90-minute talks, 3-hour talks, whatever it is. Head to our website to find out more. But the one thing I like to share is the way we kind of do our learning is quite different. And we think this is something we've seen through all our 11 years here, that by learning by doing, by collaborating and kind of interacting, and tapping into our network of global experts, we want to bring a very real world ready education and training to the people who will encounter us. And hopefully that's something I can share with you today, even in our very short 60 minutes. So suffice to say, I really want to open up the opportunity for you to interact. This is not going to be one way as much as I don't want it to be as one way at all. So if you have questions in the chat, please use that. In fact, the research that we're seeing in educational institutions is the beauty of online learning is you have opportunity for 2 parallel conversations to take place, right? The one is me now sharing stuff, and the second one actually takes place in the chat. And we're so used to it now because, at least for us at Hyper Island, we do all our stuff online and with a hybrid. So if you've got questions, please put them in the chat. If you've got comments, please put them in the chat as well. If you want to speak, raise your hand, and I think my colleagues here will help you to do that. So you can ask your question if you'd like to do it that way instead. Okay? So do participate. I think even though it's 1 hour or slightly less now, 45 minutes or so, we found that the most you get out of it is when you're able to fully be present. And I'm going to invite you to do just that. Right. So by the end of this short session, I hope you'll be able to quickly describe what a platform business is. Also have a brief understanding about how, and high-level understanding of how platform companies operate, and perhaps to plant some seeds for you to work out possible opportunities for a platform business to take place in your organization. And wherever you are, if you're at home, if you're in the office, if there's an opportunity for you, if you have some like writing materials nearby, like a paper or a notebook, do get it out. Okay, so if you find something interesting, you're more than welcome to take notes. And in fact, there might be a little activity I might do later where if you have some pen and paper, that might be useful. But for now, what I'd like to do is to invite you to take out your phones, and wherever you are, to scan the QR code that you see in front of you, and you will come into a Mentimeter poll that is asking you this question. What is that one biggest question that you have about platform business? Okay, what is the one biggest question that you have about platform businesses? If I could invite you in the next 30 seconds or 1 minute, just give it a thought, right? Think, well, in the first, what are some platform businesses you know, and what some questions you might have? All right, post your one biggest question, and I'll be more than happy to see if we can try to address some of them, if not all of them, in this 1 hour. And thank you for those who are already starting to put. I can see your first question coming in. I'm just going to get it ready. And let me see. Thank you for the first few of you who have started posting your questions. Well done. Okay, I'm looking forward to more questions. And if really need be, I'm happy to actually, shift my presentation if I have to, so that we can tackle those questions. Obviously, some questions might need more than 1 hour, but if not, let's try to see how much we can do. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to switch over and I'm going to start looking at some questions. Just give me a moment. Let me switch over to this screen. All right, cool. So we have these questions coming in. Platform businesses can make money or not? Fantastic question. Short answer, depends. Okay, it depends. It depends on how you set up your platform business. What is a platform business? You're in the right place. We will talk about that. Is it capital intensive? This is a really interesting question. I think with the examples I show, you might be able to get some sense of that. Okay. How to make profits? We'll talk about that for sure. Is it safe and trustworthy? I'm not sure which angle you're coming from when you ask the person asking this question about safe and trustworthiness, like as in whether can you trust a platform, or if you were going to run a platform, how do I run it in a way that's safe? So I'm not really sure, but let me see what other questions there are. How to identify competitive advantage? We will definitely touch on that today. And how they make money? I'll touch on that today as well for some of the examples that we have. What do you think is the next industry that will be disrupted? Wow, that's a really challenging one. I think it's not so straightforward as just platform business, like which industry, but I think the industry will have to have certain things in place for it to happen. So let's see if we can touch on that. Okay, let's see other questions. Need big funding? More context? Yes, I think sometimes. So capital intensive, maybe. Is it sustainable? Which organizations are most successful? I think we've got some good questions here. So if you've got more questions, please ask. But based on these questions I'm seeing, I think what I'm presenting would maybe address about 80% of these questions, but the others, sometimes time is limiting us. So let's try and tackle that. How do we validate the authenticity or maintain it in the business or work process via blockchain? Okay. So you've just raised blockchain. You've just raised a completely different topic altogether. If you are interested, I mean, we call it the bleeding edge of technology course. So if you're interested, we talk about the blockchain there, where we're looking at not blockchain as a, like what we hear in the mainstream media, like NFTs and stuff, but the whole idea and the premise of a decentralized economy and what that might mean. Okay, so if you're interested, check us out on hyperisland.asia, and you can attend our courses on that. But blockchain and platforms are quite different things, and hopefully you'll see why. Wow, fantastic! I'm loving these questions. Thank you for this. It's a great start. I would hope that I can address some of your questions as we go, okay? And let me just go back to my slides. Let me just also offer that this 60-minute slides, this 60-minute presentation is kind of based off our one-day exploring platform business model course. So if you're really interested to dive a lot deeper into this, feel free to sign up for that as well. So let's go back to today. Platform business. Is this an inevitable product of the connected age? Well, first of all, let's think about business models. Okay, what does business models mean? For those of you who need a definition, now this is not really it's essentially saying a business model describes the rationale of how an organization creates, delivers, and captures value. And when we think of platform businesses, it is actually an innovation. It's an innovation around how businesses construct their business model. How do they think about their revenue? Where do they think about their costs? What kind of value are they offering to their customers? And it is a part of a strategy that a business can undertake. Okay, so a platform business model is an innovation in business strategy. And many businesses would use a tool to think about their business models called the business model canvas. Okay. If you have heard of the business model canvas previously, or if you have even used it, feel free to just leave the chat, say yes, put a yes if in the chat. If you're familiar with the business model canvas, you can put no in the chat if you're not. That gives me a bit of a sense of how familiar some of you might be. Oh, good. Some of you are familiar. Yes. Yep. Okay. Thank you for that, Kenneth and Yi Chen and Shi Hao. Okay. Yes. So actually, the business model canvas has been around for a while. And when it comes to the utility of it, increasingly your 50-page business plan document is kind of irrelevant. If you go today to any venture capitalist and you say, I've got a business idea, they will say to you, have you done your business model canvas? Now, why is that so? The business model canvas is becoming a tool that is, and I think those of you are familiar with it, it's a tool for designing and helping you to think through a new business through a number of important questions. And in one kind of, one big canvas, you can put all the details of your business that matter, all the details that matter in your business on that one sheet. And a venture capitalist is then able to quickly compare the hundreds of opportunities that are coming through their doors. Okay, and with this, there's obviously a boom in people wanting to do their own startups, perhaps in conjunction with the Great Resignation. VCs can quickly compare and see. If you've not done a business model canvas in your proposal, you're not even going to get an audience with a VC. Okay, so VCs are now looking, everyone saying, show me your business model canvas. If you've not thought through your business, do that before you come back again. So the BMC, it essentially provides a common language, and increasingly for your startups or tech startups, digital companies, that's what they do. You can actually use the BMC, obviously, also to think about a platform business, okay? And that's where, if those of you not familiar, just really quickly, the platform business model asks you these questions and helps you to think through these questions. So for example, like, who are the customers that you're looking at, okay? What is the offer? What is your value proposition? What are you offering someone? What's the job that you're trying to do for someone? And if you think about on this side, it's like, well, who are your partners? Who do you need to help you deliver your business, right? So if you're in e-commerce, right, you need logistics as your partner. If you're in, let's say, retail, you might have somebody in your supply chain. So who are the partners in the entire business that you need to be a partner with you? So on the left side, you think about all the things you need, the partnerships, the activities you need to do, and the resources. The central bit here is the key offer, like why your business exists, what you value are you offering to your customers. On the right side here is how will you interface with your customers? Who are they? How do you maintain your relationships? And how are the channels? What are the channels in which you're going to reach them? And then on the bottom, it will essentially be a cost and revenue comparison. So what's your cost structure going to be like? What's it going to cost to run your business? And on the bottom right, your revenue streams, who pays, how do they pay, how often, how much, okay? So who pays for what? And if those of you who are familiar with the design thinking framework, you can actually look at a business model canvas in this way, where you are trying to evaluate the idea that someone has, the feasibility of it, the desirability of it, and the viability of it. You can kind of break up the business model canvas this way as well, okay? And in doing that, you get a really quick glance of whether a business makes sense. Now, let's turn this business model canvas thought toward a platform type business. And the one company I'm going to start off with is actually Airbnb. Okay, I'm sure all of us would have heard of Airbnb. In fact, during the pandemic, there was a lot of conversation about, Airbnb, how are they going to survive? Oh no, the pandemic, no one's traveling, no one's booking anymore, rooms and stuff like that. Well, Airbnb actually changed their business model somewhat, where instead of offering rooms or places to stay, they started to say, let's do online experiences, okay? And in fact, their tagline was, you don't need to go far to find what matters. But now when borders are opening and travel is returning, they have revamped their website again, post-COVID, and now they're focusing on travel again. And I just visited their website this morning. They have redesigned the entire interface, focusing on themes rather than on locations, right? So if you want a place for beaches or islands, or you want to go to the Arctic, or you want something that's OMG, like, wow, blow me away, okay, or even caves, apparently caves is a thing, you can do that. But this is just what you see on the internet. If you think about their business model for a bit, right? Try to work it out. Who are their customers? Who are their sellers, right? What role does Airbnb play? So in fact, if I could invite you, and I know there's no way for you to show me, okay? But if I could invite you, just in the next minute or so, attempt to sketch out what you think Airbnb's business looks like and try to represent that. Okay, so you see if you can do that. Draw some circles, draw some lines, try to see if you can create a visual representation of Airbnb's business. Okay, I'm going to give you just 1 minute or so because I'm sure some of you would just be listening in. But those of you who are interested to take this on, I'm just going to give you 1 minute. Give it a try. Draw a visual representation of Airbnb's business. Okay, and then after that, I'll show you one version of it, and then you can see whether you can compare and see whether you got it right. Okay, so think about Airbnb's business. How would you visualize that? Where is the revenue flows? Who is doing what to for whom? Take a minute, okay? Take a minute to see if you can visually represent that. Okay, do it on a piece of paper or your notebook. Just going to give you another 30 seconds or so. Okay, think about who uses the business. Think about the kind of interactions that is there in the business. If you are someone who is hosting or if you're someone who is looking for a place, what kind of interactions would you have? And of course, if those of you who've actually used Airbnb before, then you have maybe a better insight, okay? Okay, so I'm working on faith that you have tried to do something, or at least some of you tried to do something. If you wanted to represent a platform business such as Airbnb, what would it look like? It would look something like this. You will have on one side the host, so the people offering rooms or homes. You have on the other side the visitors, those who want to look for homes and rooms. And you have Airbnb in the middle as the platform. So in this case here, just by looking at the platform, you can see that between every party, there's some degree of interaction. Obviously, between the visitor and the host. So the visitor goes onto Airbnb, right, navigates the website, finds a lovely place they're really interested in. They then send a message to the host saying, I would like to book this place. The host then reciprocates, they make out an arrangement, they use Airbnb as a platform, and essentially the room that the host has will then be made available to the visitor. And Airbnb's role in all of this is that they are the platform. And the platform is this. So the visitor requests through the platform, the host gets the request, and they will then, profile, they provide a profile, they provide everything like that they can, all the details to Airbnb. The visitor pays a fee and Airbnb takes a cut. They then pay that fee, the renting fee, to the host. So this is where people asking the question just now, is it a sustainable business? Depending on how you set it up, I think the short answer is yes. In this case here, Airbnb is taking a cut from the transaction between a visitor and a host. And it is considered a platform business because you have your buyer, your seller, right? So the host and the visitor. They are, maybe you've heard this phrase as well. I'm just going to put the phrase in the chat. They're called an asset-light business, right? In the sense that they don't own any of the properties, right? But people own those properties. They play a facilitating role. They facilitate the transactions. They make the UX really good. They make the experience really great. They make sure that the hosts are, got reviews and they got really nice photos. They make sure that there is a sense of safety and trust from the visitor. That is the role that Airbnb plays. They facilitate the entire transaction. This is, in a way, your prototypical platform business. But I've got a question. What about these businesses? What about Tinder, Spotify, Gojek? Are these considered platform businesses? What do you think? That's right, KH. They're like playing like a middleman role. Exactly. They're playing a middleman role, but they have digitized the entire process. They have automated it. They have made the experience of it so seamless and so frictionless that when someone says book, when a visitor says book a room, everything just happens on the platform. The host gets notified, all the availability is there, the thing gets pre-filled, money gets passed over. Everything is automated through the platform. So they're a middleman. But what about Tinder, Spotify, and Gojek? Are they platforms? One way to think about these three other companies, which also operate to some extent, like similar to Airbnb, is this way actually. Think about who uses those services or who kind of interacts with those companies and organizations. A platform business usually would provide value to the networks. In other words, the buyer, the seller, or the third party involved, they normally provide value. But they also have a business model where they provide value to the platform. And you have to look at them separately. All right. So to the network, to the buyer, the seller, the third parties, the transactions is what is of value to people. But then there needs to be a monetizing model. So the revenue model that looks at how you monetize your whole business, and that's then the value to the platform. So for Tinder, the buyer and the seller are often the buyer can sometimes be the seller sometimes be the buyer. So they kind of interplay, right? Because on Tinder, people want to meet each other. It's a matching dating platform. You might have some third parties advertising there. But the value to the network, someone who belongs to Tinder, is that they're satisfying their short and maybe long-term relationship needs, right? Short from one night to maybe one lifetime, depending on how they think about relationships. But then for the platform, they're monetizing it through access fees. So by premium access, you get extra features, you get extra swipes, you get extra stuff that a free user wouldn't have. Gojek. Okay, Gojek is somewhat similar to the Grabs, kind of a service provider. They've got riders who are people who wanting to go from A to B. They've got drivers or motorcyclists who are taking people from A to B. And they're also advertising. So Gojek, I think especially in Indonesia, they have these digital panels behind the motorbikes where advertisers can use to put up advertisements. So advertisers are third party in this project as well. The value to the network, right? Given this is obviously in Indonesia, given the very epic traffic conditions in Indonesia, Gojek found a reason to exist, and the value to their network is getting you from A to B fast. But the value to the platform, obviously, they monetize that is access fees, they charge the riders and things like that. But Spotify, another one, right? The value to the network is essentially, I have access to an entire universe of music in an instant. That's what they offer the value to the network. So you got listeners who are buying, so to speak. You've got musicians or music labels who are selling the music, and you've got third-party advertisers on there as well. The value to the platform, you either go ad-free, so you pay a premium, you have access, advertising, those are different things, okay? Now, Audrey, great, you asked about Grab and Netflix. So I think Grab and Gojek are quite similar, right? They both start, I'm going to take Grab in its starting form, right? In its starting form, it's very similar. It's a get me from A to B kind of a thing, right? Grab Taxi was how they started in Malaysia. So very similar to Gojek. But of course, Grab is slightly different. And I think Gojek is kind of moving in that trajectory as well. And I will talk a bit about that just in a moment, okay? Netflix is not always seen as a platform, although the reason I'm saying that is because Netflix produces a lot of their own content. Netflix being a very highly data-driven business, they have done an amazing work. And if you have a chance to find out more, they've done amazing work around data analytics, where they understand, what kind of movie or scenes or drama would actually attract someone, and they actually produce their own. They produce their own films. So, is there a seller on the platform? I guess you could say if they are buying the rights to different content and different movies on the different platforms, you can see it that way. But when you think about Netflix, I won't automatically think of it as a platform business, but I think they do have some aspects of it where they take, like I said, content from other suppliers. But I don't think they would take stuff from Disney Plus, for example, right? They're not sharing content with Disney Plus. They're not sharing content with Amazon Prime Video. So once you see that bit of siloed nature of it, you have to ask yourself, is it really a platform? And not really. Yeah, exactly, Kenneth. Grab is not really asset light. Although, if you think about the core of their business, they are still fairly asset light, because if you open the Grab app, let's say Grab Food, for example, right? In that sense, you're asset light, because all the hawkers and cafes and restaurants, they're on Grab. They are the ones owning the assets. Grab plays the platform role, although there is Grab Kitchen. So Grab Kitchen then starts to take on a life where they provide the food as well. So there's a bit of that blurring. Yep. Netflix started out like Grab. I think they may have, but Netflix saw that they needed to produce their own content. I think that's the thing about that. And they needed to then therefore create that, and that became a lot more. Yeah, they started renting DVDs. I know if you read the story of Netflix, it's quite cool. But I think from there, okay, let's talk about now. Now they're clearly not a DVD machine anymore. So yes. But yes, I freely agree with you, Yi Chen. They started out that way. If any of you are interested in reading their story, they've got a good book on that. Kenneth, I agree with you. You can rent and lease cars. So that's why I'm saying Grab, I would not look at it immediately as a platform, but we'll talk about that in a short moment. Okay, I've got that. Okay, KH, you asked a question in the Q&A, is Grab a sustainable business? I think that's where I want to turn your attention to the next slide I have, or this next bit, which is I'm looking at the idea of stickiness. When Grab, they obviously went the SPAC route in the US, and they did IPO there, and then suddenly their share price drops like almost half. They're still bleeding a lot of money, okay? But that is not so much a function of the platform, although some might argue it is, but they're bleeding a lot of money because of their cost of operations. And I think Grab, Uber, Lyft, they are all experiencing a huge challenge, because the original thinking that the VCs had and all the people who were kind of backing them was all about growth. And the idea of growth was then about how do you quickly get market share. And I think the market share was what they were all going for. But I think in the recent years, we are seeing that is becoming a bit of a big challenge when it comes to a business like Grab, okay? And I think that's where the idea of stickiness is something you need to consider. Because, okay, sorry, L-E-L or L, you've raised your hand. Let me see if I can get your mic going. I'm assuming you want to speak, okay? So there you go, L. Maybe do you want to say something? You got a question, L? Okay, maybe not. So maybe let's see whether he's going to have something. You can put it in the chat as well, L. Okay, put it in the chat. So the extent of stickiness has some correlation with whether the business is going to be sustainable or not. Okay, the stickier your platform business idea, the more likely people are going to use it, right? So for example, when it comes to Tinder, it's a bit mixed. It depends on who uses it, depends on how they view the people on the site, whether they find them attractive or not. It's a bit mixed, not really sure. For something like Gojek, if there are other players in the market, the question of stickiness is how easy it is to switch out of that service onto another competing service. All right. So Gojek, Grab, this is, when they're competing, how easy is it to switch out of Gojek to go into Grab, or from Gojek to go into, let's say if it's in Singapore, like to use, let's say, ComfortDelGro's app instead. When it's very easy to switch out of, then it's not really very sticky. The other thing would be Spotify, okay? An example of Spotify can be quite sticky, especially if you are the sort that have curated your playlist very carefully, right? You've got the playlist for your emo times, you've got a playlist for your gym, you've got a playlist when you just want to go to bed or something else. That playlist, if it cannot be exported, then it kind of locks you in, okay? That's when stickiness is really important for Spotify. So when you think about platform business model, think about what you can use or design into the model that makes it sticky. And stickiness essentially refers to the pain the user feels if and when they have to move to another service. Okay. So, for example, I'm not sure how many of you face this, but when WhatsApp, I think late last year or early last year, they had this big thing about, WhatsApp, you're going to have to decide whether you want to stay in the service or not. And some of us were thinking, oh, you know what, do I want to stay in WhatsApp? Do I want to move to like Telegram? But it is so painful to move from WhatsApp to Telegram because my parents are on WhatsApp, right? My friends are on WhatsApp. If I want to get updates of like the cool stuff happening in my friends in primary school, it's all on WhatsApp. It's very painful to move out of WhatsApp into Telegram or something like that. Okay, so something that is sticky is quite hard. When it's sticky, it's quite painful to move, and I think that's where your platform business model is more likely to succeed. So I'm going to ask a question. For something like Foodpanda, food delivery app, how sticky is it? Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 completely not sticky. Okay, as sticky as sandpaper, to 10 really sticky. Okay, how would you rate them? How sticky is a platform like Foodpanda? So we'll leave you in the chat. Okay, Francis says 1, very good. Okay, 5. Okay, he's never used Foodpanda. Fantastic. So I guess for you, be a 0. Okay, Stella 1. Philip says low. Philip, my scale is 1 to 10. Give me a 1 to 10, please. But I understand low. I'm going to translate it as 1. Okay, D says 2. Kenneth says 3. So just by the initial responses in the chat, it feels like a lot of you think that Foodpanda is not very sticky. And I think it's because we have all kind of done the same thing to Foodpanda, right? Foodpanda doesn't have what I want. I'm hopping off to GrabFood. GrabFood doesn't have what I want. I'm going off to Deliveroo. So as a platform business model, you've got to wonder, how are they surviving? How is their business model working out? Can they sustain? But interestingly, I'm not sure how many of you saw that there was this, I think, post on social media where a delivery rider meticulously recorded his earnings from all these food delivery apps. So they've got all the 3 different apps, and he was just comparing them, like Foodpanda, Deliveroo, GrabFood. And for a food delivery rider, Foodpanda was offering the most earnings consistently. So for them, as a food delivery rider, Foodpanda is a bit sticky because, hey, if I'm going to go to Foodpanda, I'm going to get a lot of earning. But for us as a user, it's not really very sticky because I can jump anytime I want. So the question I then would think about is, well, how do I then make themselves stickier? What are some ways in which, I'm not sure whether you, okay, besides KH who says he never uses Foodpanda, okay, how many of you have seen what Foodpanda is trying to do? Maybe you've gotten some of those notifications yourself. And how are they trying to make themselves stickier? Anyone like to put in the chat? How are they trying to make themselves stickier as a platform? Not sure? Okay, let me tell you how, okay? Based on what I'm seeing, based on the Foodpanda app on my phone, okay? Packages, are you referring to like the Panda Pro, Alex? Are you referring to Panda Pro? So you buy like a subscription, is that what you're talking about? Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, exactly. So About, I think, end of last year, Food Panda started this subscription called Food Panda Pro. Okay, Panda Pro. And in Panda Pro, you get like free delivery for some of these restaurants. You get maybe discounts here and there, but you pay a subscription for that. Okay, so that's one way, right? If I subscribe and I pay for it, very likely I'm going to keep going back because I want to have, make sure my money, value for money, right? Going to keep using it. So that's one way. Okay, although I subscribe and then I unsubscribe because I didn't find it was useful for me. Okay. Yes, exactly, Alex. The other thing is the e-wallet. Okay, so they have a Food Panda wallet, all right? And in their wallet, that is how they are trying to keep you on their service. Because if you want to, top up your wallet, use Panda Pay, for example, and they want to, you say, oh, use Panda Pay, you get some discounts, and so you start using it. And once you start using it, you make it your default mode of payment. And then if they mess up your order, they refund you into Panda Pay, their wallet. There is another way they are trying to make themselves stickier, so that when you think about which app you're going to use, you're going to go to Panda Pay because otherwise my credits is all there. I've got to use it. Okay. So that's another way. Very good, Alex. Thank you for that. Kenneth, yes. So they have exclusive tie-ups as well. Exactly. So that's another way in which they can make themselves stickier. But I mean, yes, it's Starbucks and Pizza Hut. I'm not sure about Pizza Hut, okay, but Starbucks, sure, I can see that. But Pizza Hut, I'm not so sure about that. But you can see all the attempts that Food Panda is trying to do to make themselves stickier as a platform because it's so easy to switch out and to try another service. That is one of the challenge of a platform business model. But when you think about the full, I guess, the growing and innovation in business models, you have to start to ask yourself these questions. Are these apps that I'm showing on screen platform businesses? Or does it even matter whether you call them a platform business or not? So Grab, right? That's their tagline, your everyday, everything app. If you go there, you can get your food, you get your transport, you get delivery, you get all kinds of stuff, okay? Interestingly enough, DBS, PayLah is marketing themselves the same way, your ultimate everyday app, okay? So same idea, tying up with many different partners, giving you discounts, giving you different ways to, you can pay for different things. Are these really considered platform apps? Now, let's go to the apps on the right side of the screen. Shopee, WeChat. Of the four you see here, you could argue that Shopee is probably the most pure in its platform business model type, right? Where they provide a platform, and then you've got different people, SMEs or different outfits, just selling the stuff on Shopee and people buying it. So in a pure form, Shopee is like maybe the most like a platform business. But if you ask me, the innovation that WeChat has is just frankly mind-blowing. Okay, and those of you who know about WeChat, that is something you want to study really closely, because they are probably the first super app and the first app or first startup, no longer a startup now, but the first service that is so comprehensive that it does everything. It is so integrated into people's lives that I think for me, WeChat is like right at the forefront of innovating their business models. You've got everything now. You can be an e-commerce platform on WeChat. You can do it as a messaging. You can do it for sending stuff like a Grab or anything at all. So WeChat for me is like the most interesting platform business because of how diverse it really is. So very, very short time. I can't really, go into great depth, but I just want to highlight some things about platform business. Some very common elements is that platform businesses are like networks, right? They have networks of buyers and sellers. That's what we see. A lot of platforms basically are mobile first. Okay, very few of them are going just website alone or website first, but it's mobile first because of the convenience and the frictionless kind of access. There's a lot of automation and technology involved in these platform companies that allows them to scale really quickly, and their availability is just 24/7. There's a lot of innovation, like I mentioned, like the WeChat, very, very innovative. Right now, your Shopee, your Lazadas, they look quite similar to each other, to the point where they maybe once were the innovative forefront of business models, but now not really. I think WeChat just keep pushing the boundary. I would like you to explore that more if you're interested. Work with third-party suppliers and design around human needs, because that is what really these platforms are surviving on. But think also about the network effect. And I mean, some of you may be familiar, right? Two-sided marketplace, multi-sided marketplace, like tapping into the network effects. How does that all work? The network effect essentially talks about the stickiness as well, because the stickiness, the stronger the network effect, then the more sticky your products will be as well. Now, if you're in a place where you have the opportunity to innovate your business towards a platform business, here are some suggestions of how you might do that. And I think I'll just end off with this. The first of which is, bear in mind that a platform business at the end of the day is a business. So I think earlier Kenneth had a comment, right, about be it a platform or brick and mortar business. If your KPI is just market share or top line, you're unlikely to be sustainable. And it's so true. Because if you're not offering value to your customers, then why do you exist at all as a business? So at Hyper Island, we really like what Clayton Christensen is I think it's the late Professor Clayton Christensen. I think he passed away last year, where he talks about how people, they're not buying products or buying brands. They just want to get stuff done. They want to hire a solution to just get jobs done. And so his approach, his theory, those of you who are familiar, is the jobs to be done theory and the jobs to be done approach. And there's a lot of power in thinking with a jobs to be done approach, which often we don't see so strongly. But if you are familiar with this, you're using this, this is fantastic. So to think about platform business, you need to first identify your users and identify their needs or their jobs to be done. And your users could include customers, they could include your suppliers, even your own staff, non-customers, even competitors. That's right, even competitors can be part of your users on your platform. Okay, think about how DBS Payla allows Faith Pay, and I think recently I saw they allow Union Pay to be on their network. But the day that Payla allows OCBC to also use their service, I think that's the day where I think, okay, they're really opening up as a super app, okay? But if you're OCBC, using, let's say, the Pay Anyone app on OCBC, at this point, unless you have an OCBC account, the only other way is Pay Now, right? So not too many other options. But the Payla, totally different approach to it. So competitors can be on that as well. When you identify your users, then identify the needs of these users. Like, what do they really need to do? What is the job that they want to get done? After you've done that, then you think about the kind of transactions and the value exchange between the different parties in your platform business. Think about the main transaction. What's the main activity that's going to take place between the networks of users, right? If it's Food Panda, it's people selling food, people wanting food. That's the main transaction. And think about what is so valuable, what value can you use or develop to attract the network to join, to stay, to be entrenched, and how do you make it sticky? Okay, that's really a big question that a lot of platform businesses are trying to implement or figure out, as we talked about just now with Food Panda. But also think about the secondary transactions and interactions like buying and selling, sharing and contributing, right? A community that's built around that, recommendations, promoting, advertisements, things like that. These are all the secondary stuff that would oil the wheels of your platform business. But think about tapping into the power of networks. Okay, there's a lot of power in the network effect. So in my really short sharing, I just want to have some concluding thoughts, which is that I think from our vantage point at Hyper Island, I think we will see more business model innovations around the platform business and even pushing beyond the platform business. And so I would say we shouldn't expect, you can expect some purist type of platform business ideas like Shopee or stuff like that. But I think there will be a lot more innovation saying, how do I just offer great value to my users? How do I do that in the particular business model that I have? isolate your competitors, right? Rather think about how they can be potential partners and complementing your services and what you're offering, your main transaction value in your platform. Focus on your users and customer needs and offer value. If you don't have that, you got to rethink your business model altogether, right? What value are you offering, the value proposition? And lastly, I think given how complex the current world is, experimenting towards understanding and finding ways to make your product stick, I think that's going to be quite important. Okay, I see a question in the Q&A. Someone says, can you elaborate more on the purist platform business model? Okay, I can. So basically the purist form would be, let me just go back to my Airbnb one, okay? With the Airbnb slide, this is about as pure as it gets, okay? So buyer, seller, asset light, I'm a platform, I'm in the middle, I'm automating stuff, I'm just digitizing everything, and I'm just facilitating the transaction between the buyer and the seller, okay? That is your prototypical platform business. Or if you think about Facebook, for example, or some of these social media platforms, Facebook just provides the platform. The content is provided by the people wanting to use it. They take photos, they upload it, or brands that are there as well. But Facebook, they are, in a very, again, pure form, they're just providing the platform and they're getting their revenue through advertisements and selling the data to advertisements or advertisers, okay? So that's what I meant by the purist model. Hopefully that makes sense. Similar to YouTube. Audrey, when you say similar to YouTube, I talk about YouTube as a platform. Because in a way, yes, YouTube is a platform as well. Right? People upload videos, brands upload videos, anyone can upload a video, and someone who uploads a video can also be watching a video. And then they make money either through reviews, through advertisements and things like that. So those are where YouTube plays a very central role, but again, it's just facilitating the platform. So yes, you're right, similar to YouTube, okay? All right, just a few minutes more for Q&A. Any thoughts, leave it in the chat, use the Q&A function. Just going to give us a couple of minutes to see if there are any more things that are coming through. I know it's just been a short, not even 60 minutes because about maybe 45 minutes or so, and there's only so much I can cover. Okay, there are no questions. Then do check us out, Hyper Island. We run a master's program, like I said. I'm the program director for the master's program. We are also IBF, it's an IBF accredited program. So you get the same degree of support from IBF if you take up the master's program. We also run short courses around all things digital and digital related. So from human-centered design to agility and digital marketing, even like data and different things that we do as well. Okay. Lastly, just my details. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, just look for me. My name is Leong Yeng Wai. Just look for me there. I'm there. If you want to reach out in an email, that's my email contact, leong.yenghwai@hyperisland.com. And I guess the last thing I want to say to all of you today is there's so much happening, especially in this whole platform business world. So stay curious, all right? Stay curious. Find out more about us at hyperisland.asia. I'd love to hopefully meet some of you in person one day, okay? So that's all I have for you today. Thank you very much for coming. I can't see all of you, which is a bit of a shame. I wish I could see you and I could interact with you more. But if you want to find out more about us, head to our website. And if you're interested in the master's program, do sign up as well. Okay, let me stop sharing. And I guess, Daphne, do I hand the time back to you?
Okay, thank you, Yen Wai, for sharing. Okay, this is a wonderful sharing sessions. Very hype for Friday afternoon. Gives us the weekend, ends the work week on a very positive vibe. Okay, thank you everyone for joining us. Okay, if you have any questions, do email us at events@ibf.org.sg. Your CPD certificate will be sent to you 5 days after this session. 5 working days, okay? So there's no need to email us, we will actually send it to you. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. See you again.